Welcome to the StockManor.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your StockManor Brian Johnson, making professional trading simple. And I just don't know how much more simple to make it than this. And that is get long at the beginning of the day and get out at the end of the day. The strategy is still working very nicely as the markets moved up again today, doing very, very well so far. And since the week began, continuing their climb upwards. Now, for those of you that are Elliotticians, this is exactly how a wave 3 behaves. It just eats the bears alive. Wave 3s to the downside work exactly the same way. They just absolutely kill the bulls. It's just a slow, methodical march in one direction over day after day after day after day. And so very, very hard, obviously, that people are calling tops all along the way here, and they're all wrong every time. That's why you got to be just go with the trend. You know that you've heard it said, the trend is your friend, and it's the truth. Stay with the trend. And we have had great success buying in the morning, selling at the end of the day. Today, you basically got back in where you left off yesterday and were able to run it up all day long. And now, if you went ahead and closed your position at the end of the day, you're ready for tomorrow, and there's no stress about what's going to happen overnight, or are we going to, crash in the morning? Are my long positions okay? So, on an ETF standpoint, an indice standpoint, just a great, great strategy that seems to be working very, very well. So, moving on to the daily on a Dow, you can see us continuing to stay above this blue line, exactly what I've been talking about. Move up, high base, move up, high base, move up, high base, move up. So, just repeating what we've been doing over and over and over again, and working very well again today. So, 100-point move today in the Dow now puts us, let's see, for the month of March, up about 500 points, almost 600 points. So finally, I guess you could call that, maybe a decent move now for the month. Certainly better than where we had been, kind of crawling around the 400-point move. So today puts us once again back up into the stratosphere and up and over this overhead resistance, and now continuing to climb our way to new heights. NASDAQ on a 60-minute, same type of a thing. Moving up as well, getting into this 1960 to 1970 area I've been talking to you about. Now 1970 is looking even prettier than before because of this overhead channel line. That would not only put us at overhead resistance there, but also comes in on the weekly. We'll see that in just a little bit. NASDAQ on a daily, continuing to make new highs, moving up and over, not even close to touching this trend line as of yet. And here is the overhead resistance I was telling you about on the weekly, right at this 1960-1970 level. So very strong moves in all of the indices. It doesn't matter that, the volume really wasn't spectacular today, but you know what? Who cares? Only price pays. So we continue to move upwards, and the strategy of just getting in towards the morning and getting out at the end of the day is working really well, saving you a lot of risk from holding overnight and allowing you back in at basically break even in the morning. So it's been working very well. I'd say to stick with that. If you're trading the indices, obviously, and the ETFs. Individual stocks, you might be holding those overnight, and if the setup is there, great. I have no problem with that. SPX on a 60-minute, also breaking up and over to new heights. So once it broke above this 1170 area, kind of heading up towards whatever that might be. I think my target now is right around the 1180-ish 1185-ish area, somewhere around in there. You may have looked at this as a potential inverse head and shoulders. Here would have been your left shoulder. Here's your head. Maybe there's a right shoulder in there somewhere, kind of a shallow right shoulder. And so if that's the case, then you're looking at about, oh yeah, maybe 1190-ish, even closing in on that 1200 mark before this might find some overhead resistance. But for right now, everything looks very, very bullish. And this played out well too. Remember that whole high base thing I kept telling you about? We had a gap down yesterday morning. Didn't make a difference. Bulls bought it right back up again, and now off to the races again, holding above this blue line very well. Still my line in the sand, looking for a break and ultimately a close below this blue line. So as the days press on, we'll see if we can get there. Now, as we get higher on the NASDAQ, if it continues its march up, no reason to think that the rest of the indices won't follow. I have to start peeking at this 200-week moving average on the SPX. 1225, about 50 points away. Very, very doable at this point. So a hard climb up, the Obamacare, the health care bill, whatever, it's all in the past, and it doesn't seem to make any difference at this point anyway to the markets whatsoever. Matter of fact, I was actually doing a little bit of reading on my own on that, and as it turns out, now that the bill is actually out there for people to, lo and behold, read, it appears that a lot of the biggest money makers in this are going to be the healthcare companies and the drug companies. That's curious to find that out, but I guess if that's the direction, that's great. So the healthcare companies and the big drug companies are still going to be the profiteers in a lot of this healthcare bill, and I think that was reflected today as well in the markets themselves. We see healthcare and financial both up very well today. So, still not a lot of fear coming into this market, as evident by the VIX as we drop. Now, we have not broken to new lows. This is actually kind of curious to see. Whereas the markets are all breaking to new highs, the VIX itself has not broken to any new lows over the past day or so, and kind of sitting pretty right here on this strong support line, still holding very nicely. Any break back below there, though, like I said, dotted line and this green line here is the next stop in the VIX. Apple on a 60-minute saw it up $3.61. Where was the break? It was at either 225 or 220.